Good afternoon. Like to welcome everybody to the Seattle-King County Continuum of Care regular board meeting for April. Today's date is April 3rd, 2024, and we will get started. Ruby, would you like to do a land acknowledgement for us?
Yes.
I do that in that fashion. We establish the space, we honor the land. Soon we will honor the labor, and then we will introduce folks. Got you.
Yes, so thank you for that, Chair. I just want to say that we are honored to be here on the traditional lands of the Duwamish here in Seattle and Coast Salish tribes across Washington State. And I'm sorry, I'm pulling up my land acknowledgement right now. Sorry. But I just wanted to make space for the unceded territory of the Duwamish people and the Coast Salish. And thank you to them for their great stewarding of this land. And we should do more as a country and as humans to right the wrongs that have been committed against Indigenous people of North America and worldwide. It's important to note that land acknowledgements are not a new practice developed by colonial institutions. They are a traditional custom dating back centuries for many Native communities and nations. For non-Indigenous communities, a land acknowledgement is a powerful way of showing respect and honoring Indigenous peoples of the land on which we work and live. Acknowledgement is a simple way of resisting the erasure of Indigenous histories and working towards honoring and inviting the truth. Thank you. You're on mute.
Dr. Salins, would you like to take us through the theory of change?
What?
We didn't hear that.
Would you like to take us through the theory of change?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Yes.
So are you asking Dr. Sam?
Yes.
We didn't hear that. Sorry, there was some interference. Could not hear clearly. The theory of change states, if we create a homeless response system that centers the voices of people with lived experiences in homelessness, then we can focus on responding to the needs and eliminating inequities to end homelessness.
Thank you. Some context for our meeting. Since our last meeting, the Wheel Women in Black stood for 37 deaths in the month of February. That was a vigil that they had on March 20th. I always offer that the reason we're doing this work is based on real numbers of real people who are no longer with us. Seattle-King County Continuum of Care Board, referred to as the Advisory Committee and the Interlocal Agreement, serves as our region CoC board and carries out mandatory functions required by HUD regulations. The CoC board plays an important role in ensuring the King County receives federal funding. Under HUD regulations, the full CoC membership has the authority over the Continuum's work and the CoC board. With that, I'd like to introduce the CoC board team and do a roll call.
Yeah. Patricia Sam,
Present.
Tamara Bauman,
Here.
Kenyatta Carol Hillman, Lise Castro, Jaja Floyd, Marvin Futrell,
Here.
Antoinette Lambert,
Here.
Dorso Plants,
Here.
Ruby Romero,
Here.
Martha Sassarasi,
Here.
Christina Sawicki, Sherry Tillman, Galena White, Lacey Morgan. We are at 7 members.
We do not have
We
some.
do not yet have quorum.
Alrighty.
Oh, Lise Castro.
Here. Sorry, I was in a meeting that ran long.
We welcome you,
please.
Lise. We are at quorum.
Great. I'd like to turn this over to Alon Gutierrez and Trevon Fields. If they're here, they're going to lead us through the welcoming of our newest board member.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. My name is Alon Gutierrez. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the Deputy Chief Program Officer at the King County Regional Homelessness Authority. The purpose of the next agenda item was to welcome Lacey Morgan, the newest Seattle King County Continuum of Care Board member who was elected through the convening in December 2023. Unfortunately, Lacey was unable to make it due to an emergency situation, and so she's very sadly not able to join, but she is extremely excited to be with this space, and so we will have to add this back to the May 2024 Continuum of Care Board agenda. And so with that, I will pass it back over to you, Co-Chair Futrell.
Thank you. Up next on our agenda is review of meeting minutes from both February and March. If there are any edits or changes, please, this would be the time. If not, I'm open for a motion. Who is that?
Motion to approve both meeting minutes.
Second.
Would there be a big pause if we just did them one at a time? So I'll take the motion for the February meeting minutes. Demery, still motion. Dorsal, do you still second?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Vote or discussion? No. Going once.
All right, Patricia, voting on the February minutes.
Approve.
Tamara,
Approve.
Kenyatta, Lise,
Approved.
Jaja, Marvin,
Approved.
Antoinette,
Approved.
Dorsal,
Approve.
Ruby,
Approved.
Martha,
Approved.
Christina, Sherry, Galena, Lacey. Yep.
I believe it passes.
It passes with all current members approving.
All righty. Is there a motion for March's minutes?
Motion to approve.
I second.
All right, motion to approve, doing roll call. Patricia for the March,
Approve.
Tamara,
Approve.
Kenyatta, Lise,
Approved.
Jaja, Marvin,
Approved.
Antoinette,
Approved.
Dorsal,
Approve.
Ruby, Sherry, Galina, Lacey. Motion is approved by all present members.
Thank you very much, Kelsey. Up next on our agenda is public comment. As always, we accept public comment through the entire space of our meeting. This time is for those who would like to speak. Do we have anyone interested in doing public comment?
We have a hand raised by Elizabeth Moffin, who I will bring up to speak.
Elizabeth, upon.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. My comment relates to something that was covered in the previous meeting about severe weather shelter. We have the King County libraries offering severe weather shelter while they're open, which may work well this summer when the primary problem is heat, because they're open during the hottest part of the day, but it's not working too well in the winter when the cold is the problem and they are closed during the coldest parts of the day. So I'm wondering if the KCRHA is working on that problem, and particularly when we look at severe weather shelter, are we focusing primarily on Seattle, or is there also a good span out in the hinterlands? I think you'll get more support from the cities out in the hinterlands if there is more of a distribution of services during severe weather shelter. And I realize it is harder out there because transportation is not as efficient in the eastern parts of the county as it is in the Seattle corridor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. For everyone, the Q&A from all of the questions we received last month were posted online. Please go to the KCRHA website and pull those up. If there are other questions, please let us know in our Q&A, which is open to everyone, right? All righty. Seeing no more hands.
No more hands right now. Oh,
I'm going,
we do have one.
Juanita.
Spotted out. I will invite you to please come off mute.
Hi, this is Juanita Spotted Elk. I am here as a community member and an advocate with the deaths that were mentioned, the numbers, and with the severe weather, like Elizabeth had mentioned, and just being prepared. That work is always ongoing in all seasons so that we can save lives. And that's the whole point of our organizing work. And thank you everyone for what you're doing, your voices and what you bring to the table. Just raise up my hands to you, doing the land acknowledgement for Coast Salish territory and all Indigenous communities. I appreciate every opportunity of engagement to make change. And I think the whole purpose is transforming our systems from gatekeeping into liberated spaces. So I just want to acknowledge that, our purpose, and coming together as a people unified, shoulder to shoulder, and to stand firm in this work, because it's not easy. And that's why we are all needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other hands in the chat?
No other hands at this time.
Right. So we're going to, once again, continue to monitor the chat and the Q&A. Questions from the community, but I want to hand this to a big chunk of our agenda today over to Austin to take us through the nominations for the governing committee and implementation.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me. Is the presentation going to be up or? Oh, yes. My name is Austin Christopherson. I serve as the clerk of the King County Regional Homelessness Authority. My pronouns are he, him, and his.
I am pulling up your present. My name is Alan Gutierrez. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm a Deputy Chief Program Officer at the King County Regional Homelessness Authority. Thank you, Mr. Christopherson. I am pulling up your slides momentarily. With apologies, I thought I had these up. Goodness.
And here we go.
Perfect. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Yes, so we'll be talking over the IB and GC nominations. Next slide, please, Alon. Who are the representatives of lived experience currently? On the implementation board, we have Jaja Floyd, Okisha Brandon, and a vacant seat, along with Marvin as an alternate. For the governing committee, we have Roosevelt Felicia, a vacant seat, and Lamont Green. Today, we will be voting on the seat that is currently held by Jaja Floyd. That will be for a 4-year term. And then the vacant seat that was left vacant by former IB member Juanita Spotted Elk, that term will conclude in 2025. And then for the governing committee, we will be at least filling the vacant governing committee seat, which is served until replaced by the advisory committee. One of the powers that is awarded to the body is you can replace your governing committee members as you see fit. Next slide, please. So the process for how members are to be sat. So for the IB is on the left-hand side in the blue. The GC is in the silver on the right-hand side. So we'll start with the blue. And the IB, the advisory committee, which is you all, will nominate somebody that will then go to the governing committee, who will then confirm, and then the member will sit the next IB meeting. So most likely, the members that are going to be on the IB who are nominated will most likely sit in the May meeting, not this April meeting, because the IB meets before the GC. And then the silver side on the GC, the governing committee, the advisory committee makes the appointment, and the governing committee member sits in the next meeting. So they will most likely be serving on the meeting on April 18th. So whoever is the governing committee selection will definitely be working with me to get caught up to speed on all the things governing committee. And we will get you as situated for the 18th meeting. So there is that. Next slide, please. So how the process that we're going to use to appoint is typical Robert's rules. The nomination, the chair will seek nominations for the position. Any members that are not the chair can motion to nominate the person. That motion must be seconded by another member. And we will repeat until no more nominations are made. So the chair will ask 3 times if there's any more nominations. Within that time, if there's not, then we'll move over to the voting phase, where the chair will go in the order of the nomination received, one by one. The clerk/recorder of the meeting will do a roll call of the members. Each member called upon will vote yay or nay on the nomination. It should be noted that you're not voting yay or nay on the person, you're voting yay or nay on the nomination of them. So just wanted to take a little anecdote that it is not personal. And then after we find the voting phase, sorry, if a nominee did not receive a majority of the yay votes, which is 50 + 1, which I believe quorum is 8. So then we would need 5 yays to move to secure the nomination. We will then, so if we do not get 5 yays, we will move on to the next nomination until a winner is decided. Once a majority of the votes are reached by one nominee, voting concludes, and then we will have our appointee. So if 3 people are nominated for the position and 1 secures it, they get it. And then we don't do the other ones.
Just a quick question. I know quorum is 8. But wouldn't it be 50% + 1 of board members in attendance?
No, quorum present.
You're saying the same thing, I believe.
So if there's 8 members, it would be,
Present,
yes,
it would be 4
4
+ 1. If there are 10 members present, it would be 5
+ 1, yeah.
Just.
Yes, yes, but in this case, it looks like there's 8 unless attendance has changed.
And yes, attendance,
Attendance has changed.
Oh, perfect.
I introduced it.
yeah,
Yeah,
attendance has changed. Recognizing Sherry Tillman. Welcome, Sherry.
Yes,
So it's-
welcome, Sharon.
So we now have 9 members, so it would be 6 votes for a nomination to move forward.
yes, that is correct. So 6 votes is what will be needed. So with that, is there any final questions, or I'll give it back to the chair to start the nomination process? Chair, I would advise, but again, it's your discretion to probably start with the governing committee and then move over to the IB. Yeah.
Thank you, Austin. I'll take that suggestion. If votes are ready, I'd like to open the nominations for the vacant seat for the governing board. Doors open.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to nominate Dr. Lamont Green for the governing committee.
Second.
Third. 4.
So I have one nomination. Are there other nominations? Ruby?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Mike D to the governing committee.
Is there a second? At President Phelps for no second. Well, there's no second.
There's, yeah.
Are there other nominations for governing board seat? I can't see.
Oh, ask it 2 more times.
2 more times.
Any more.
Oh, I have to do it 3 times.
Yes.
Are there any other nominations? Second time? Any third time? I close. Yep. I just want to make sure I'm no hands up. So I will close the nominations for the governing board seat. We have 1 nomination. Would we vote? I can move for a vote. I move that we're moving on to the roll call.
Yep, and I will do a roll call of the members present. So Patricia. Yay or nay on the nomination of Lamont Green?
Yay.
Tamara,
Yay.
Please,
Nay.
Marvin,
Yay.
Antoinette,
Yay.
Dorsal,
Yay.
Ruby.
Yay.
I didn't catch that.
Yay. Yes, yes.
Thank you. Martha,
Abstain.
Sherry,
Yes.
that is 7 yeses, 1 nay and 1 abstain.
So that nomination moves forward.
Yeah, that makes.
Thank you. I now open nominations for the implementation board.
You want to specify Jaja seat or the vacant one?
The vacancy.
The vacant seat, got it.
I nominate Jamila.
Is there,
Second that.
who was the second?
Antoinette.
Internet, okay. Alrighty. Are there other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mike D.
I second that.
Ruby.
I third.
Right. Are there other nominations? For the vacancy on the IB board?
Yep. 2 more times.
Second round, or are there any other nominations for the IB? Third time, any other nominations for the IB? Not seeing hands or hearing any, I will close the nomination period. Moving forward, Janella and Jamela and Mike D. to the voting. So, oh, Martha, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. This is Martha with King County, she, her pronouns. I have a clarifying question, as I believe there's 2 IB seats. So is this nomination for the new 5-year term or however long the term is, or is it the nomination for the one that goes through 2025? Or do I have that wrong?
You're right. It is the one that is vacant, that the term concludes in 2025. And to be clear, it's December 31st is the last day, so. Up terms.
Did that answer the question, Martha? It's for the vacant seat is how I expressed it when I opened up the nominations.
And is there ultimately 2 votes or 2 seats to fill on the IB? Okay, so this is the first round. Okay, thank you.
So can we moving forward to the voting? I think Jamila was first.
Yep, this is voting on Jamila as an implementation board nomination. Patricia,
Yes.
Tamara,
Nay.
Lise,
Abstain.
Marvin,
Abstain.
Antoinette,
Yes.
Dorsal,
Yes.
Ruby,
Abstain.
Martha,
Abstain.
Sherry.
Abstain.
3 yeas.
I'm sorry, this is Tamara. Can I, can I change my vote to abstain?
I will say, just to explain the process of an abstention, we absolutely can. That does mean Jamila does get the nomination because the ballots were thrown, with an abstention, the ballots are thrown out. So then she did secure the majority of yeas or nays.
Can I switch? I didn't know that. Can I switch mine to no?
I didn't know that either.
No worries. Yes, you can, yeah, we can call a division on that and then redo it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's,
Can we redo the vote?
Yeah, you need a motion and a second for the division call, and then yes.
can I make a
Okay,
motion for the agenda call? Sorry.
Point of information,
Yes.
Chair. I'm sorry, I don't think I understood what was just said. So are you saying that if enough people abstain from this first vote, then the second person nominated automatically without a vote wins the nomination?
No, that is not what was said. What was said was that because there was a number of abstentions, the majority was in favor. There was not enough nays to outweigh the yays, and the ballots, when you abstain, you throw away your ballot pretty much. And that's like the best way to say it. So of the ballots received, the majority was yes, or at least of the ballot, right? So like, that's the best way as I like to explain it, or at least how I've been explained to it in by parliamentarians. So if there was a division, there would needed to be that clarification. There needs to be a call for a division, a second. There actually has to be a vote to recount, to assume that could just be an objection vote. It doesn't have to be a roll call, and then we could move on.
Got it. Thank you.
When we did make a divisional, we slipped into discussion. Anyone want a second Ruby's motion to actually redo the vote?
Second.
Cool. And then you ask if there's any objections to the division, and then if there isn't any, then we move on to a revote.
Are there any objections to the division?
I object.
Go ahead. Dr. Sam.
Pardon me?
So this is time to state the objection.
So it's a little confusing, because what I heard is the votes were in, and I feel that it should have been clarified even before the voting process, what abstaining and yay means, so that we have clarification. I did hear Austin Chair say that due to before anybody wanted to change, he said that we were moving forward, that the vote would go forward, and then we got hands up saying I want to change my vote. That's my objection.
Okay, I would like to just share that it was a misunderstanding of what an abstention meant in this process. We probably should have gone over it at the start. Where we are right now is that a person that was not the nominee had received a nomination in a second. During the vote, received 2 yeses.
3 yeses.
3 yeses, no nays, and 5 or 6 abstentions. The way the process has been shared with us, if we move forward, then she would, I didn't mean to say that, the nominee would move forward because it would have a majority of yes votes by the board. With that being said, Ruby offered that we do a motion that for a division, I want to make sure I say this right, a divisional point that would allow us to revote. Yeah. It was seconded by Tamara, and we're in that discussion phase right now.
Yeah, you got it.
So I guess my follow-up would be that once you voted, if you vote to abstain, after all the votes that went in, you can go back and change your vote during the voting session? Is that what you're saying?
I believe there was a misinformation. So in the slideshow, I'm looking at right now, I classified that we needed either a yay or a nay, not an abstention offering. There should have been somebody, most likely the chair, but the chair was unaware, so no blame over there. That we should not have, in theory, we should not allow an abstention in a nomination process.
In a nomination process.
So that I think is like the cause of the confusion. As of right now, Jamila, I think is it,
Jamila.
has secured the nomination. Unless there is a call for revote because information, it happens.
And there's been a call for a revote.
Yeah, I call
Thank
for a
you.
revote.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yes.
Kelsey, could you run us through
Yes.
the vote?
All right, this is the vote for Jamila as the nomination. Patricia,
Yes.
Tamara,
No.
Please,
Abstain.
in the nomination process, we do need a yay or a nay.
Gotcha. I don't believe that I know these people. So it feels unfair for me to, but yay.
Marvin,
Yes.
Antoinette,
Yes.
Dorsal,
Yes.
Ruby,
No.
Martha,
Yes.
Sherry,
No.
with 6 yeses, the nomination is accepted.
Same result.
I had a question. I thought we were voting on the revote.
Oh, there was,
There
was there,
was a divisional motion and second to do a vote.
and was there an
And we were
objection?
voting on whether or not. to
It
do-
was an objection. Oh, okay, yeah, so it was supposed to be the call for
Okay,
that. Yes,
So
sorry
thank
about
you.
that.
So
Yes, thank you for
that
catching us
does
on that.
pass. So we open
Well-
up the nomination and we can now go through for this first nomination, Jamila. And everyone will either say yay or nay. Okay. So
right.
in the minutes.
Patricia,
Yay.
Tamara,
Nay.
Please,
Yay.
Marvin,
Nay.
Antoinette,
Yay.
Dorsal,
This is voting to vote again?
Yes, on the first.
on Jamila, yes.
Yes.
Ruby,
If we're voting on the recount, yes.
this is voting on the nominee.
Okay, on the nominee, no.
Martha,
Yes. Yay.
Sherry,
No.
with 5,
We move on to the next.
we move on to the next. Okay,
So the next nomination is Mike D.
all right, voting on the nomination of Mike D, a yay or a nay. Patricia,
Nay.
Tamara,
Yay.
Please,
Yay.
Marvin,
Yay.
Antoinette,
Nay.
Dorsal,
Nay.
Ruby,
Yay.
Martha,
Yay.
Sherry.
Yay.
With 6, that does pass.
Next is I'm opening nominations for the ending term of Jaja's, no,
A new term,
it's a new term.
new term,
Yes,
but the seat is currently occupied by Zsa Floyd.
yes.
Yes.
Any nominations?
Jaja, I nominate Jaja.
Sam? Is there a second?
I second.
Internet. Are there other nominations for? How do I say that seat again? Full term.
The seat occupied by
That's
Zsa.
occupied by Jaja. Going one, oh. Second, any other nominations? Looking at the chat. Final round. Oh, Q&A. Thank you. The last, any other nominations? Not seeing any, I will close nominations and we'll move over to voting for this floor.
Yep. So voting on the nomination of Jaja to the IB. Patricia,
Yay.
Tamara,
Yay.
Lise,
Yay.
Marvin,
Yay.
Antoinette,
Yay.
Dorsal,
Yay.
Ruby,
Yay.
Martha,
Yay.
Sherry.
Yay.
With all yays, it passes.
Thank you very much. Folks did ask during earlier leading into the meeting, how we would be looking at seating alternates. I think we can do that in next month's meeting.
I will flag with Lamont moving up to a fully seated member.
Yes.
That you see there is a vacant. There is
Governing board.
there's nobody as an alternate on the governing committee right now.
And I'm the only lone soul. So,
Yes, you are.
okay. Thanks, Austin.
Of course. Thank you all for having me.
Board members. Moving forward on our agenda, up next, and congratulations all those who are joining the governing board and the IB boards. Up next on our agenda is the CoC convening work group and discussion. Alon, if you're online.
Thank you, Co-Chair Futrell. My name is Alon Gutierrez. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm Deputy Chief Program Officer at the King County Regional Homelessness Authority. I am delighted to share with you all that we are looking forward to our next Continuum of Care convening, which we anticipate will take place in or around the end of May or early June 2024. We are very much looking forward to having an in-person Continuum of Care convening. For the Continuum of Care members and constituents who were present at our last Continuum of Care convening in December 2023, you all know that we had a robust and I think 4-hour virtual convening. So we're eager to mix it up this time around and have some opportunity to connect in person and deepen our relationships. Of note, while the last Continuum of Care convening in December 2023 had more opportunity to really shape and co-create the agenda, I do want to manage some expectations for the upcoming convening, because There are several current Continuum of Care board members whose terms on the Continuum of Care board are expiring in the months ahead. And so it is critical that we use the Continuum of Care convening to seat new CoC members. And so that we have as full of a board as possible when those transitions take place. So I do expect that that will be sort of at the top of the agenda after we have some introductions. Hopefully we'll have some, coffee and snacks in the morning or, depending on timing to get us going, but really do need to prioritize that first. Additionally, there are some mission critical required trainings of all continuums of care. And that's a critical opportunity for us to ensure that we are providing these important training opportunities, specifically surrounding equal access and serving survivors of domestic violence. As you all know, the Continuum of Care Board and KCRHA, as well as its members, are incredibly enthusiastic about ensuring access across the homelessness response system, as well as ensuring that the system is responsive and supportive of survivors. So there's not a ton of wiggle room in the agenda this time, and I just really want to acknowledge that. And with that, I welcome your feedback, and so I think to be more specific, I will again be convening an ad hoc work group that will be meeting on a weekly basis. At this point with ad hoc work groups, I invite anybody who, whether it's CoC board members or folks who are in the attendees, to reach out to me if you are interested in helping to plan the convening. Again, I trying to be really transparent that the planning sort of scope itself is a bit limited by these constraints, and we are super open to be pushed, as well as, listening to the CoC membership and the CoC board members. But I do just want to flag those critical items, because with the annual Continuum of Care notice of funding opportunity coming up, it's also crucial that we do have those trainings, right? We don't do those trainings to check a box. We do them because our system needs them. But we also need to have those trainings completed in time. So it's genuinely not about the just getting all that done before the NOFO. It's we are overdue in terms of, as part of my tenure and experience and all of our teams, we're really wanting to ensure that we're providing routine training. So again, I'm actively seeking interested parties to support with the convening planning. There's a lot of logistics, like where it's going to take place, fostering a really fabulous environment for the CoC members to come, really hoping to have a strong turnout, and to get to meet many of you. And with that, I'm going to look in the chat box. I'm getting a bunch of messages right now, so I can't see the chat box. Let's see, Q&A. Oh, you know what? I am just seeing some comments. There was an anonymous attendee at 2:42 p.m. who shared, I think there should be a recount. I believe that occurred. There was another anonymous attendee who asked a question. The person who was nominated for GC did receive a nomination for someone that did not say yay or nay. I believe that may have been addressed.
And I will be very happy to review the minutes to confirm that second anonymous piece. And the third is, I welcome all of the applicants to continue the work on the CoC board. We have 4 open seats. There is 1 alternate seat for the IB and 2 alternate seats for the governing board. Coming forth, then we will look at this process again in May. So please, if still interested, we look forward to moving forward. I was looking at the chat and I didn't see much, but I will offer the chair of the COC will always be glad to sit in while we bring others on so that the work can begin. Dorsal has his hand up.
Thank you. I believe the second comment is in reference to the fact that there was an abstention that was turned in as part of our vote for Dr. Green. And so if we did, I'm not going to hide it. I want the result to be the same, but if we did redo because of failure in procedures, probably too strong, that's my word, we would probably need to do so to be fair.
I do think, thank you so much. I do think, I apologize. I think that last agenda item was closed. So I do think that, to your point, like the action is final and complete at this point. And there were no questions in the Q&A related to the COC convening. So again, I warmly welcome support and partnership in planning the continuum of care convening. There is more to come. I welcome folks reaching out to me again. This is more of an informal work group. It's an ad hoc work group. So that's why I'm not presenting to you like a formal new standing work group document for approval. This ad hoc work group will exist from April through likely like mid-June 2024, and then we will resume the sort of ad hoc work group. I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Alon. Ruby?
Yeah, I was just wondering.
It's hard to hear you, Ruby.
It's hard to hear you, Ruby.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I was just going to offer my assistance if you wanted to throw me on your mailing list.
Yay, thank you.
Thanks, Ruby. Marvin was going to feel all alone.
Hey, this is Tamara. I wanted to call attention to what was posted in the chat about Jamila not getting a fair shot. That it's really important to me that we always shoot for empathy and equity. And if there was any kind of unjust procedure, I think it would be incumbent upon us to redo, because I don't want anybody feeling like they didn't get a fair shot. And I don't know if there's an easy solution to that, but because the procedural, it wasn't followed, the procedure wasn't followed, I kind of feel like that should invalidate the decision. But I mean, I'm one person, but it disturbs me if somebody feels like they haven't been given a fair shot. Then I don't know. I think we should just all kind of think about that moving forward. We should not be voting if we don't have a fully informed process for doing it with justice and equity in mind. And so I just wanted to apologize to that community member and to Jamila for making feel any type of way. That's not the purpose of voting. And as Austin said, it was just about the vote. Anyways, I just want to remind us that we're a unified team. We all want to end homelessness. And so we have to always look at everything we do with an eye towards equity and justice. But that's my personal values. I don't want to impose that, but just something for us to think about going forward. Procedure dictates how we have to do business. And if we're voting based on inaccurate or insufficient information, then any vote we make is going to have an impact, or it's not going to be good is what I'm saying. So let's not do that in the future.
Yes, I hear it loud and clear. I agree. Right, Alon, is there any more, and I'll get to Dr. Sam in just a second. Is there any more on the work group before we move forward?
I also would like to, was that Dorsal asking for assistance with the work group for convening? I can volunteer.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're on the list.
Awesome. Alon, make sure I said Alon. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Is there any more on the work group, Alon? If not, I'm going to move forward with the agenda.
Thank you for your time, co-chair. That is all.
All righty. Up next on our agenda is the approving of the scope of work for the Cross Cut Policy Workgroup. Alon is printed on your agendas that folks saw, but I want to encourage that Ruby also lead us in that discussion. Alon helped out so much on it, so. All right, Ruby, you want to take us into that section?
Sure. So basically, this is a scope of work that I drafted with the help of KCRHA staff, Kelsey and Alon. Thank you guys so much. And Derek and Catherine, we all had a lot of conversations about this. So it's not just me, but I definitely got a lot of input from Marvin and people. So what we did is I found this portion in our charter that was a work group that we hadn't stood up yet. And so I wanted to kind of take some of the conversations that we have had here that don't really quite fit into necessarily this table all the time, but are still underneath the CoC like overarching area. And so that major portion has been for, I'm sure as many of you know, I focus a lot on the criminalization of it and how harmful practices of sweeps, etc. So I want to just kind of use this as like a portion of knowledge sharing and doing reports on specifics, like, you know, what metrics we're going to be building together and stuff like that for the community. And just really trying to cut into the policy of it. So we're going to try and I went to council and spoke yesterday and just offered them the opportunity to sign up for this work group. And so we're hoping to hear back from them. I'm going to be contacting other people in the community that represent various important roles that haven't been represented, I don't think, heftily in this space. And so I'm just trying to really work on some of the ordinances and stuff like that, that maybe we can really reevaluate some of the things that we do here in our CoC. One major focus that I think I could draw attention to is just reevaluating what a Bill of Rights for people experiencing homelessness would be in the King County Continuum of Care. As we know, the Supreme Court case is going to the Supreme Court, obviously, in April. And so I just wanted to bring some highlights of that and kind of really talk about that as a CoC. So I encourage people, once we get this posted, the application will be posted. And I really encourage people with lived experience and people that are able to really sit down and get their hands dirty, if you will, on these really tough issues that need to be addressed. The long and the short of it is that. Thank you. And I guess if anybody has anything else on it, or do I have to call for a motion, or do you have to call for a motion, Marvin? That's your job.
Marvin, you're muted.
I was calling, would anyone like to motion that we accept the scope of work as presented and get that work group going?
I make a motion to
Thank you,
approve.
Ruby.
I second.
And thank you, Tamara, for the second. Any further discussion, any questions about that scope of work? I'll pass it over to Kelsey for a roll call vote.
A vote on the Cross Cutting Policy Workgroup. scope of work to approve it and stand up the work group.
Yep.
Patricia. We are unable to hear you, Dr. Sam, and I see you are on mute.
I'm off mute. I'm just trying to remember exactly. Can I abstain right now? Because I need to get more clarification of what this is about.
Well,
Still, there's a lot going on.
Close discussion. I asked for discussion.
I did hear some of it, but
Are there, I would like to make the vote go pretty quickly. So if there is discussion or questions about the scope of work, let's have that piece. So that is also done for the benefit of folks joining us from the public. So, are there any questions, or is there any discussions or questions about the scope of work that we will be voting on? Patricia, this would be, I'm reopening that space for discussion. Dorsal?
Is there a copy of this in the agenda packet? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find.
Yes, there, excuse me, Alan Gutierrez, he, him, his, Deputy Chief Program Officer. This is the final attachment in the email from Alex Piffner in your packets. The title of the document is Cross Cutting Policy Workgroup.
I'm gonna go ahead and just read it for everyone too. I should have done that from the initial get-go. I apologize, Marvin, Chair, for that. So this work group is structured to ensure system level focus in support of the continuum of care. This work group is formed to develop recommendations or share practices regarding interventions, challenges, or policy issues, chaired by the director of the appropriate office, which we've already figured out who that is going to be as the representative for the King County Regional Homelessness Authority. The work group also includes representation from groups serving populations such as veterans, domestic violence survivors, families, youth, unsheltered persons, etc. It should say people experiencing homelessness. We'll go ahead and change that. The committee may exceed the 12-person standard that is outlined in the Seattle-King County CoC Charter. The Cross Cutting Policy Workgroup reports to the KCRHA's Continuum of Care Board on a quarterly basis at minimum, and follows all program rules in 24 CFR 578, which is the Continuum of Care rule. The workgroup logistics, it's titled the Cross Cutting Policy Workgroup. Members must be a member of the Seattle-King County Continuum of Care, and it will include CoC board members, KCRHA staff, and CoC members. Once the cross-cutting policy work group is approved, possible work group members will be reached out to. The makeup of the work group may change based on suggested work group members' capacity and availability. It's important to note that the work group reports to the CoC board, but the work group may decide amongst itself if a lead is needed. Members are selected from the staff of the KCRHA. Providers include government partners like the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs or healthcare providers, and lived experience communities based on their expertise in the subject matter. Due to OPMA regulations, a maximum of 6 CoC board members may participate in the cross-cutting policy work group. And I'm a part of this work group, so it would be 3 to 4 or 2 to 3 CoC board members, and then 1 KCRHA communications team member, which I believe is Catherine, and then the administrative staff member, I'm not sure who that is yet, implementation board member, governing committee member, hopefully, the youth action board member, so I'd love to reach out to them, government officials, representative of CoC partner organizations, 1 lived experience coalition member, 1 human trafficking and sex work advocate, 1 LGBTQIA Two-Spirit Plus representative, 1 representative with living experience, and 1 representative with lived experience, not LEC specific. And yeah, then I have the deliverables here. You guys can kind of see where the policy landscape is going to be. Provide in-depth reports on specific policy items, acts of living laws, discriminatory ordinances, irrelevant or dated policy, and other policy issues related to the oversight and administration of CoC funded programs. We will develop recommendations to offer to the CoC, policymakers, city officials, and the KCRHA. Education and communication will be, the work group will develop presentations on best practices, define terms, and then communicate any shortcomings in the current homeless response system in different meeting spaces, particularly in the other boards and the CoC convening trainings, including presentations at community meetings. Severe weather activation criteria evaluation and recommendations focuses on the different tiers of severe weather response activation criteria, create recommendations and informs the public and the KCRHA boards on and staff on deadly effects of exposure, as well as the miscellaneous portion, which would be the work group would develop any miscellaneous work that is related to homeless policy or cross-cutting policy issues. Thanks for letting me take that extra time, Chair. Appreciate that.
Right. Would you like to read Dorsal?
Oh, go ahead if you were taking action.
Well, I was just going to ask for a motion to accept.
I accept. Thank you for clarifying.
Got to say, is there a second?
I'll second, but hoping
thanks.
for discussion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to accept. Open for discussion. Dorsal.
Just two quick thoughts, and I don't know if I need to be formal about this, but I appreciated the breakdown of the membership, and thank you, Ruby, for reading it, because it's on me, I couldn't find it. If one of those positions is specific to the Lived Experience Coalition, I would, and if need to, I'd make a motion that we amend the language so it clearly states that one of those is the Lived Experience Coalition member instead of not LEC, to be clearer. So just like specifically call out one is a Lived Experience Coalition member and one is someone with lived experience. And my only other thought is it's a great scope of work, but I worry it might be too large, and it might make sense to start smaller.
Thanks, Dorsal. Ruby, is there a response?
Yes, and I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Dorsal. I wanted to give space for different topics and just be able to work with, I hear you on the focus point. My first focus point, like I was mentioning, was the Bill of Rights portion of my fear is that when it goes through this Supreme Court case, one preemptive debate that we can do is by providing a Bill of Rights that would actually make people experiencing homelessness citizens in the United States, because apparently that's like what the only argument would be, is that they wouldn't, that the Constitution doesn't apply. So that's one thing I'm trying to work on and really sit down with. And then to your other point, I hear what you're saying, and you're absolutely right about the acronym portion. I was just differentiating because I know that they have a really strong finger on the pulse of like a lot of the policy work around this particular Supreme Court case, again, because it is a very important case, and also around the other policy, issues. And I wanted to make sure that we're maintaining that finger of the pulse there. So
Are there other questions or discussion? Going once, going twice. Move to a vote.
All right, we vote on accepting the scope of work and work group for the cross-cutting policy work group. Patricia,
Yes.
Tamara,
Yes.
Kenyatta, Lise,
Yes.
Jaja, Marvin,
Yes.
Antoinette,
Yes.
Dorsal,
Yes.
Ruby,
yes.
Martha,
Yes.
Christina, Sherry, we'll come back to you. Galena, Lacey. Once more, Sherry,
Not a quorum.
That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is 8, so that is quorum. So that doesn't pass.
Thank you. All righty, like offer this time for folks to take a quick stretch, get out of the chair. We're going to take a quick break. We now have a capture. We do real-time captioning for this meeting. We want to extend the break to the person that does that. Like to call folks back together at between 3:16 and 3:20, but we'd like to continue the meeting starting at 3:20, where we will be receiving an all-inside presentation from the United States Interagency and Council on Homelessness. Alon, you have a question?
Yeah, I believe we wanted to provide a 5-minute break. So I just wanted to offer that as a point of clarification. Sorry, Alon Gutierrez, he, him, his, Deputy Chief Program Officer. I will also note that I believe that there was an agenda item before the all-inside presentation that you and Jaja were going to provide. So just wanted to note that. So my recommendation is that that you provide a 5-minute break from now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alon. I wanted to give folks a 10-minute break. It's now down to 8 minutes, but yes, we're going to take a break now and we will return at 3:20. It is 3:20. We're calling our meeting back to order. Hopefully folks were able to get a bite, stretch their legs. Can we verify Eileen is back on our captioner? All righty. And is Katy on? Katy Miller.
Dorsal, or sorry, through the chair, Alon, you get to see him were there, I think there's a CoC board member agenda, recruitment agenda item that you were on the agenda for, Marvin, before Katie's presentation.
Well, we're actually we're actually going to do it afterwards, after the values and priorities, because
Got
we
it.
wanted to make space for Katie's presentation and board interaction. All righty. Welcome back to the King County Continuum of Care Board's regular meeting for April 4th, 2024. Up next on our agenda is a presentation from Katy Miller, All Inside for the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness. Welcome, Katy.
Hi, Marvin. Good to see you again, and thank you all for having me. I'm Katy Miller. I go by she, her, and I am a senior regional advisor with the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness, and have a little presentation for you that I think Alana is going to help me with. I wanted to note that the slides are slightly different from what was posted online. I added a few slides. We can make sure everybody has the full deck. So great, go ahead and get started, and you can go to the next slide. I'm going to talk about the federal plan to prevent and end homelessness. And I was asked to come and just give you all a sense of what we're doing at the federal level as it relates to homelessness, as it's really important, especially now, to track all of the work that we're doing at the national level, and be sure that what we're doing at the local level and at the state level is aligning the best that we can. So U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness is a very small standalone federal agency. Our job is to coordinate the federal response to homelessness across 19 federal agencies. Fully staffed, we're about 18 people. So we're a really small, scrappy group. Most of our team is based in Washington, D.C., but there are 6 of us that live outside of Washington, and our job is to really bridge what's happening on the ground with what's happening at the policy level in Washington. And so our council chairs are Secretary Becerra of HHS and Secretary Vilsack of USDA. These chair positions change annually. And so you can see all of the agencies that we coordinate. So everything that they do related to homelessness is aligned through this council. You can go to the next slide. This work is done through a federal plan. And so I wanted to share with you just a quick highlight or overview of this plan so that you understand what's driving our request to Congress for funding, what's driving policies as we work to address homelessness nationally. So we are working across many different partners, but really the job of this federal plan and our work is around federal agencies and federal work. Next slide. So All In was released in December 2022. Usually these federal plans are released under each administration. And so this is the federal plan released under this administration. It's meant to be a multi-year plan. It's meant to be updated and aligned, based on resources that come and knowledge that comes along as we move forward. Next slide. So the vision of this plan is really ambitious. It's built on our vision of a nation in which no one experiences the tragedy and indignity of homelessness, and everyone has a safe, stable, accessible, and affordable home. We set a goal in this plan to reduce homelessness 25% by 2025. This is very ambitious and really is meant to push Congress to fully fund the work that needs to be done to address homelessness. Next slide. So the federal plan has 6 pillars, and I'm going to give you a link at the end so you could read the plan. It's pretty long, but I want to give you just a sense of how this plan was written. So there are 6 pillars. There are 3 foundation pillars and 3 solutions pillars. You can go to the next slide. The foundation pillars are lead with equity. I will say that equity is embedded throughout the plan. So equity is a key pillar, and you will find it all the way through the plan. The second one is using data and evidence. We just released the first federal research agenda in a decade. And this research agenda will really be driving the evidence base on prevention and ending homelessness. And then again, collaborating at all levels. So this means all levels of government and the private sector. Next slide. The solution pillars really are about scaling up housing and supports. We know that housing is the solution to homelessness. Housing first is at the core of this, but we can't be successful in housing first without ensuring that there is voluntary and appropriate and trauma-informed support services that are funded and linked to that housing. We also want to improve the homeless crisis response systems. The second solution pillar is really focused on that crisis response system. A piece of that is addressing unsheltered homelessness. We have an initiative that I'll talk about in a minute around unsheltered homelessness and encampments. And then the third pillar here is about preventing homelessness. So in this federal plan, if you've seen other federal plans that we have put out, we talk about prevention, but we've never really put prevention forward directly. And this is the first time where we really call it out as a key piece of the federal plan to hold the federal government accountable for ensuring that as people transition from systems of care, from prisons and child welfare systems and hospitals, that they're not exiting into homelessness. So really holding that piece of the system accountable and ensuring that we're not having reducing the inflow of people coming into homelessness. And so this work this year, you will hear a lot more from us on this as we are pushing to address that, and then also really ensuring that the crisis response system is strong at the same time. So turning both of those wheels at the same time. Next slide. So how does this fit with what we do locally? So as we talk about driving the work of the federal government, we are seeing in communities that many communities are setting their own ambitious local plans that align with what the federal government is doing. And your plan, I have seen, is covers many of the same themes and bodies of work. These state and local plans need to have aggressive and ambitious goals. We need to be sure that we're educating people in the community. We're speaking about the work we're doing, and they're clear what we're aiming for. And then another piece is holding us at the federal government accountable for this work, ensuring that federal agencies are responsive, but also Congress is responsible and responsive to the work and the needs of people at the local level. And then making sure that you all are aware of what's happening in the federal government, what resources are available, what guidance is coming out, and the actions that we're taking. Next slide. I want to talk about all inside. So we mentioned all in and all inside. It's sort of confusing. About a year ago, the White House and USICH launched an initiative, first ever, called All Inside. And this really is focused on the addressing unsheltered homelessness and encampments. We selected 7 sites throughout the country where we embedded a federal employee in the community to look at ways that we can reduce barriers to communities really being able to address unsheltered homelessness. And these are federal barriers, whether it's policy barriers, regulations. What are the things that are blocking our ability to do work to address unsheltered homelessness. And so we have been working with KCRHA, working with the county and the city to identify policy barriers, needs for waivers. So many of you are familiar with the federal waivers that were implemented during the pandemic around housing authorities and ability to presumptive eligibility for moving into units before identification could be gathered. Those types of waivers are the types of things we're looking for. And so we've been working on this list, and our federal team lead for King County will be helping to move some of those flexibilities through. Again, 7 communities or 7 sites were selected for this, and we're excited that Seattle King County is one of them. Next slide. We also, in our work under the crisis response, are really focused on humane responses to addressing encampments. We released a document called 7 Principles for Addressing Encampments, and we continue that work. That's really the foundation of how we see this All Inside initiative, and continue to work with communities and federal agencies that hold federal land to ensure that they're addressing encampments in a humane way. So next slide. We will be releasing some more guidance very soon, again, around encampment response, and it fits into these buckets of our 6 pillars. And I just wanted to frame this for you so you're aware that all of the work that we're doing, we're trying to fit into these 6 pillars. Next slide. Want to be sure you know how to get access to our federal plan and to our website, usich.gov. We put out a lot of information from all of the federal agencies through a newsletter that comes out. And you can sign out for that newsletter, but any funding resources and guidance that comes out there, but also you can access our federal plan all in there. Next slide. I just want to be sure you have my contact information. You can reach out to me anytime. I'm based here in Seattle. I work across the West in about 12 states, but I'm here and I'm very interested in connecting with you. So please reach out to me anytime if I can be a resource to you. And I can open it up for questions.
Ruby.
Hi, I'm so glad that you came and did this presentation with us today. I have read that plan before and I love it. And I think that it's really great that you guys are focusing a lot more on, solutions and stuff like that. So I don't know if you were in attendance for the scope of work discussion on the Cross Cutting Policy Workgroup, but I see some potential for some insight that could be a good way to maintain contact potentially. I will be reaching out to you and hopefully we can work together in the future. Thank you so much for all the hard work you've been doing.
That'd be great. I'd love that.
Others? Well, my comments I'll keep short and brief, but I'm allowed Dorsal to go first. Dorsal?
Thank you. Just really quickly, and also I just want to say I love your all's website. It's very useful. Are there cities or regions in the country that your office considers to be gold star when it comes to encampment work that we could look at?
That's a great question. I would say nobody's got this perfect. And while sometimes we do highlight communities, they may do something really great 1 minute and then a week later things don't go so well. And so I am hesitant to highlight, though there are some really important innovation and work happening in communities. We are about to put up examples of communities around the country that are addressing encampment resolution in a humane way. your work with the Right of Way initiative is one of those examples. Again, it's not the entire community. It might be just a piece of the work. And you will see other examples from around the country when we put that out, that honestly is not the entire response across that community. It's, as you know, this is really, really hard work. And I'm not sure anybody is doing it perfectly.
So I see Ruby's hand is up and then Lisa's hand is up.
Mine was still up. I apologize. I passed it to Lise.
Thank you, Lise.
Hi, thanks so much for talking with us, Katie. I wanted to know if you at USICH were involved in any direct cash transfer initiatives at all.
You know, we as a federal agency, unfortunately, we don't administer any programs directly. So we do not do any of that. However, I work very closely with the city of Denver, and there's an incredible work happening in Denver with basic income. And I would hold that up as an exciting thing. There are a number of cities across the country that are testing basic income and doing cash transfers.
Great, thank you.
Tamara.
Yeah, I'm probably going to ask something that's probably not politically correct, or sensitive, but what guidance can you suggest that we can effectively put pressure on our elected officials to stop criminalizing folks who are experiencing homelessness? Our federal government has called that out as being something that we need to reverse. And our officials, at least in Seattle, are still pushing it. They're still criminalizing, they're still fining, they're still destroying their belongings. They're still marginalizing folks that are the most vulnerable members of our society. So how can we get them to listen to us? We are the experts. You listen to us. So yeah, okay, I'll get off my soapbox. Yeah,
you know, I hear you, and I wish I had that power. I think we can provide guidance, we can provide examples, and incredible work. I run peer-to-peer calls with mayor's offices up and down the West Coast in California and Hawaii and British Columbia and Oregon, in Washington, you know, monthly. We try very hard to put out examples that are the right way to do things. I would put forward our 7 principles. I believe that those are the right things. I think I helped to write them after sitting down with David Delgado, who is one of your incredible outreach workers there and are here in Seattle with the REACH team. And, you know, they were things that David really highlighted as key pieces to how you do this right. And so that document is something we can hand out. Again, we are going to be putting out additional guidance. We are also, I heard mention of the Supreme Court case. We are responding to that. As a federal agency, there are certain things we can and can't say or do, but we have a response to that. And so I do ask that folks track that carefully. That's the Grants Pass case. It will have a huge impact on the work that we do locally and on people experiencing unsheltered homelessness.
Thank you. Tamara?
Thank you very much.
Are we all?
I forgot to.
Okay, I also wanted to capture something from our chat. Cinda it writes, thank you for this and the tremendous work your team are doing. On a macro level, the main driver is poverty. What is being done at the federal level to lift folks out of poverty? There seems to be more of a war on the poor than on poverty itself. Wage gap is widening with its level of homelessness increasing.
So Cindy, that's a really big question, and it's a really important question. I would say I'd like you to point you to the president's budget for 2025. His requests of Congress are unprecedented that address issues like wages and housing and all of the things that are about lifting people out of poverty. There has been a tremendous amount of resources that have come out to help prevent people from entering homelessness. And we know that during the pandemic, there was a lot of innovation about really supporting households. And we have to continue that and ask that that continues, because what we saw as a result of those innovations and those basic services is that we saved lives, and people didn't become homeless during that time because of a lot of the safety net that was put in place. And so I think we need to continue to lift up those examples and ask for supports that help families come out of poverty.
Thank you. My closing shot, I would be surprised if you haven't heard it before. I think I've been saying this for about 2.5 years now, when my work has drawn me to this space. Our local agencies can't understand the idea of community and what it needs because the federal government doesn't understand the barriers that are created when we separate our communities by using words like the homelessness. It's all one community. All of our neighbors are being impacted. You don't have to be humane, you have to be invested into building communities. And if that investment doesn't start at the top in this present system of doing things, then it very rarely reaches the local level in a meaningful way that allows agencies the flexibility to actually build communities or support communities, house our neighbors. I know that's something I offer. I want to talk only that what I didn't get from the whole presentation is an understanding that there is a learning curve for the federal government as it is for us here on the ground. My one point, 1941, federal government established rent control over the entire nation. Yes, it took a perfect storm of things happening for it to occur, but it is something that was done. And I don't think we learn enough from the things that we've actually been able to do to recreate that actually builds communities, establish bringing everybody inside, maintaining a positive, strong workforce. So I want to thank you for coming today. We don't often get to talk to folks at other levels of government. And we want to invite you back.
I'd love it.
As soon as possible. I don't want to always have to go to DC to see you.
No, and I'm here in Seattle, yes.
Yes.
Good.
Alon?
Hi, Alon Gutierrez, him, his Deputy Chief Program Officer at King County Regional Homelessness Authority. I just wanted to, on behalf of KCRHA, thank you so much for your time, Katie, today in your presentation and all the work that you are doing in Seattle, King County and beyond. We greatly appreciate your partnership.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I know you have a lot to cover, and so I appreciate you taking the time.
We'll see you soon.
Good.
All righty. That takes us to our last agenda item today. And so I will pass to Kelsey for our 2024 values and priorities work.
Thank you, Marvin. Kelsey Beckmeyer, she, her, hers, Program Performance Manager with KCRHA, wanting to kind of reintroduce to the board the CoC values and priorities. Alon, do you have the document to pull up onto the screen? Just want to do a quick kind of re-intro to this. So as it's getting up, we'll kind of give context. So this is the document that really guides our ranking process in our CoC NOFO. The ranking is what we do once all of the CoC programs that are being renewed or applying for new funding. We look at that to see how do they align with the values and priorities of the CoC and whether or not we want to move any rated projects higher or lower from their rate on our final rank list. This is the document that we had in prior years. There's an error here on this. Well, this is a draft copy, but this is the copy we used for the competition last year. The beginning is about our overall values, and then below we have a priority list of the priorities that we look at in the projects we want to fund. The CoC NOFO work group that is convening and has been convening for the last month about, we'll be looking at this more in depth over the next few weeks. We will be bringing an updated version of this to the board for a vote in May. So we wanted to give an opportunity for the board to take a look at it, any initial feedback or thoughts that we can then bring back to the NOFO committee. So I will kind of briefly go through this. This was sent out in your board packets. It's also posted on the website under the board materials. So we first have listed overall values, centering the theory of change, promoting the mission to significantly decrease homelessness throughout King County, using equity and social justice principles, promoting equitable access and service provision with an intersectional and anti-racist approach, developing a culturally responsive system that values diversity and understands communities and develops services and supports to meet the unique needs of each community, maximizing our community response to homelessness while aiming to maintain as much CoC funding in our CoC as possible, growing a proactive and accountable system. Would you please scroll down a little bit for me, Alon? Thank you oh so very much. So having a proactive and accountable system through ethical practice, promoting human-centered well-being and partnerships with a housing first and harm reduction approach. And then we talk about our priorities. So the above are the overall values that we hold. And then as we look at prioritizing projects, so these will be the individual projects that are applying for CoC dollars. We want to see in projects, in services that are provided, that the voices of those with lived experience are elevated as experts in development and implementation of those programs. We want to see a focus on those who are literally homeless and details of that. We want folks to actively participate in the continuum of care through demonstrable racial equity and social justice oriented practices. We want to see a demonstrated commitment to power sharing and deference to people with lived experience and organizational design, such as board seats and management positions. We want to advance as a collective the goals of the CoC, including addressing racial disproportionality and achieving equitable outcomes. We want to advance as a collective the goals of the CoC to support our elder community. We want to have positive outcomes as defined by our participants to permanent housing. I just got lost, pardon me. We don't want to replace mainstream services such as federally funded health insurance, cash benefits, et cetera. We want to work to connect people to be served by CoC funded programs with community-based culturally responsive resources. We want to see programs that participate in HMIS and have quality data. We want to see projects that demonstrate alignment with HUD Housing First standards. We want to see projects that perform well against HUD CoC goals and positively impact local system performance and equity outcomes. And if you would scroll a little bit, my captions are blocking my view. Thank you so much. We want to see programs that consistently meet or exceed operational standards regarding spending, match occupancy, and reporting requirements. So this is a blend both of HUD requirements and HUD standards that we want to see prioritized as really as well as really anchoring our local values. So we will be digging into this document with the HUD NOFO committee. And I really want to take, a couple of moments while I have all of you to just open this up to some initial thoughts and feedback, areas where you want to see the NOFO work group kind of focus in the list of the 2024 CoC values and priorities.
So if we get our screen back, I can see hands. And the music. Well, I will always be helpful with the start that I want to make sure that the things that we learned over last year that weren't part of the last one get in. Decriminalizing homelessness is one. The other is making sure that our local values and priorities carry the same weight as our federal ones. That you don't do one or the other and still get funding. You do them both. You're in alignment. We are centering on the voices of our houseless neighbors. I think homelessness is just a bad term because home could be in any community that you choose to join. Being unhoused, though, is what we're trying to turn around. Don't know how you say that in that one. And then the last one that I always have is I've heard it called system realignment or system procurement. Somehow those two have got to be also part of the purview. It's just not an application to get money if we are not assigning those dollars in a way that promotes the theory of change. So I know it's difficult. It becomes it's not like it's not a battlefield. I understand that we are competing for dollars. I often have shared with my work with the values and priority is where's the line where not all money is good money? If we're getting money that is not doing the right thing, then why we're taking it? Because we're not elevating our values and priorities. Just saying, that's just kind of a lens I always like to make sure is at the table. It's great that we do a group-based thing here so that all views are seen. We come to a collective. It works or not works. Others? Also, I don't plan to be part of this work group this time around. So putting that out there on the record publicly so that it may be heard.
I am taking notes. I am taking notes.
Yeah, one thing else I would like to see included would be like emphasizing workforce well-being, stabilizing the workforce so that the homeless response system doesn't suffer as a result of staffing and turnover and all the burnout, compassion fatigue that does take a toll on frontline staff. So I just want to have it mentioned, documented somewhere that that's also a priority.
Thank you so much, Tamara. I have that noted. Man, a couple of things in the Q&A. What have you found most helpful in changing the public narrative relating to homelessness that is behind much of public opposition to humane treatment of those who lack housing? I believe that may have been one for Katy that we may have missed. So we will save this and give that to Katy to for a response that we will hopefully have posted for our May meeting. A second comment, we struggle locally, not only with a shortage of funds, but with local opposition that makes it difficult to start or complete projects that are proposed or approved. Duly noted, we will, we are with CoC dollars, there are usually CoC bonus dollars to begin new projects. So we will definitely do work to have community conversations about what types of projects so with CoC dollars, there is specific project types. So it's really focused on housing projects, permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, and joint component transitional housing, rapid rehousing programs. Those are typically the three main pillars of CoC funded projects. And we will have some processes likely beginning in June to have conversation about strategy for any potential bonus dollars that we may have available in the NOFO process this year. And Dorsal, I see your hand.
I took it back down. I'm still thinking.
That works.
We've got 4 minutes of
I
thinking time.
do have another little NOFO related announcement. It has been confirmed that the NOFO is moving to a biannual process. So it will happen every 2 years. And from this, in conversations with the NOFO committee, we will be using 2025 to really be doing some looking into our rating process. So we hope to have a good amount of time to really be thoughtful about how we are currently rating and how we want to be rating projects in the next NOFO for fiscal year 26.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge Dr. Sam.
Yes, hi. I had something in the chat. I still want to circle back to our voting process and just come in and thank everybody for your applications. There was a lot of passion and good work that is being done in the community. One thing I still wanted to have mixed feelings about, because when we were starting the vote and the nominee process, so I looked on the applicants and I asked a question in the chat. If a person submits the application or request, and here's an example, and they want to be on the governing board, how do us as board members, can we nominate them for other board positions? And I think Alex answered it back. And my concern is because during the voting, I was thinking of who I wanted to nominate. And I read Mike, and Mike said requested to be on the governing board, but he was picked for the IB board. So I didn't know we could alternate and switch out. And I'm just want to follow up on that.
So I've captured that question. Our public meeting space and time will not cover a response, but it will be at the top of our list of our Monday board planning sessions. And we will be able to bring clarity and hopefully talk more about this process. It's also going to be Marvin's general call that as many board members, please join the planning session, because it's very helpful for us to generate institutional knowledge about the work that we're engaged in. Speaking of institutions, our Continuum of Care Board has 4 open seats. We will have a convening somewhere in the next 8 weeks. It'd be really great if we could identify not only the vacancies for alternates on other boards, but also filling the seats on our board. So I look forward to hearing from folks and having some more folks to join us in doing this work. Is there anything else for the good of the order? I want to thank everyone for their time today and for coming and helping us with our regular monthly CoC board meeting on April 4th, 2024. Hopefully we hear from folks in between now and next month. If folks want information on the Wheel Women in Black and the data statistics, at least for Seattle, King County, for deaths that occur, please reach out. Staff can provide links. Thanks. With that, I'll call the meeting.
Thank you. Goodbye, all.
Bye.